but we won't run the intro yet. So here we are,
All right.
and you're in Schlitz malt liquor territory.
Yeah.
And there you go. And there's no American flag or anything today. So
Oh,
the
right.
fans
Because
are.
that's David's department.
Yeah, no. You usually have the American flag and stuff in the back.
I know.
But wait a minute. We could do this though. There you go.
Oh, that's dizzying. I prefer the red
hold on,
background.
Here, wait. This is your background?
Oh, no, the red curtains are fine.
Is that better? All right,
No.
there you go. It's worse. You like
what
this
did
or
you
the
have
red
before?
curtain?
The
Red curtain.
That's much less distracting.
Okay, we're going to do that then. And then now that we've got all the fans going, oh my God, what's going on? We can actually start the show. So let's do this.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
What could be more reprehensible than 2 old farts? 3 old farts featuring Dave and Steven and Greg Shapiro with funny ha-ha.
And we're back now, kids. Here we go. We're live. And today's only 2 of us though.
Yes,
So
hilarious.
I don't want. It's hilarious. I didn't want anybody to if they miss David. David, he says he's sick, and what that means in rich people's term is David's on his yacht sailing the Mediterranean.
He's missing work for some reason. Maybe,
yes, he's missing work. He's missing work for some reason. He sent me an email. He goes, "I'm dying," and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry that you're dying." And does that mean you're not going to make shows? And he's like, "Yes, I'm not going to make shows." And I was like, "Oh, well then, die in peace." But I told him, if he's going to die, take one for the team. Do it live on air because the ratings will be huge. So I have my whatchamacallit. I'm a touchy feely, care for my human being person, as you can tell.
Yeah. Well, okay. Get well soon to David and your stock value prices, whatever.
There you go.
Whatever's going on.
You're feeling better.
Yes. No need to 1929 stock market crash throw yourself off of buildings. But by the way, I'm also coming to you from the United States now, a hotel room in the great Midwest of America, where the U.S. flag is still flying outside.
Wow. Yeah,
with the 50 stars. There's no 51st yet. There's no Tesla logo. But yeah, it's fun to come back and see how many little things have changed and how many big things have not changed. So,
that is true. Welcome to America, kids. So there you go.
Yeah,
well, because you're doing stuff and you're in America, we can we can go from the State of the Union, which did a lot, or we can talk about Trump, or could talk all about climate change to make everybody feel good.
That was, that's been my kick. And funny, I've been trying to make a big pivot to climate good news, and with the idea that you can even be not a climate skeptic, but like a climate agnostic. Okay, I might put you in that category, Steve.
Yes.
Or I mean, someone who just doesn't take the spoon-fed dictates of whatever blogs and news sites. I do understand that fossil fuels are necessary, uniquely scalable, and even to get us to the hugely ambitious goals of Fit for 50 or 2030 goals, whatever. Like, you're gonna need a lot of fossil fuels to get there to make the solar panels at least, or whatever. So so I get it anyway. But so it has been rough, since the January 20th, certainly this year, and even like USAID funding being cut is actually targeting a whole lot of startups in other countries. But anyway, that's why I thought I would focus on even like rubble from bombed Ukrainian buildings. There's now a technology to turn that shit into Lego-like blocks.
Nice.
To make new homes. So like, that's the kind of realpolitik. Okay, we know it's bad, but could we like reverse the trend to a positive direction? That's kind of where we're at now.
Well, you know what I like about that story about that if you bomb a building, Legos now can make blocks out of it. Legos now is going to create an army and they're just going to bomb the world. And it cost you $450 to buy the box and the kit to build your own home.
So Lego is Denmark.
Denmark, yes.
Denmark is Greenland.
Yeah, there you go.
Trump wants, Greenland,
Yes.
and maybe Lego, maybe Denmark is low key trying to, start this whole shit.
Yeah.
Start this whole
yeah, right.
quiet, secret war.
I know.
So that with their end game, they can rebuild it with Lego.
Like you say, Greenland will look beautiful with Legos. It'll be multicolored like a rainbow. But I thought his State of the Union speech was awesome because he was like, Greenland, they're wonderful people. We like Greenland, and they're going to do really well.
Yeah.
And they should come with us.
Yeah.
And whether they come with us peacefully or not, they're going to come with us. So I'm thinking, so basically you're saying, listen, we're giving you like about a week and a half. And if you don't want to come with us, we'll invade you. I'm thinking, what are you going to send? PS 137 from New York City? You're going to a bunch of fourth graders will go kick all their butts. I mean,
It's basically, I've been trying to work on a Trump / Don Corleone voice. It doesn't seem to play very well. So, if you're like Jon Stewart, it seems like the consensus on the late night talk shows is just make him sound like a mafia guy,
Yeah.
We're going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Greenland, you lovely people. They are having an election coming up, right? In Greenland?
Are you
buffering,
I think so.
Steven? What's going on with you?
You're buffering because you're at the hotel. So
that's probably it. I keep seeing. Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure. What I'm
So I'm actually watching on another screen live.
Okay,
I look perfect.
Okay,
You're
great.
welcome.
Okay, great.
You are like you should just be in the Ukraine. But it'll be fine because the audio side, people will get to hear, and it doesn't matter. And they're here just to hear you, not to look.
Even whether we're coming from the Ukraine or from air traffic control in the United States, or more and more, standard Verizon, whatever, it's all going to be Starlink, baby. It's
God forbid. God forbid.
You don't think that's where this is going?
Well, I think to an extent, yes. I'm hoping it's not the idiot, and I hope there's other companies out there that do it, because we keep saying that this time next year, none of the shows like Jon Stewart's show, John Oliver, Bill Maher will be on television because Trump's going to say he's trying to pass a law that you can't make fun of the president. And I'm like,
dear leader.
I'm like, let's see. That reminds me of Thailand, the Dominican Republic, Trinidad, Tobago, Philippines. Also, what was that place? Oh, Russia in the 30s.
Yeah.
And Germany in the 30s. And I'm like,
I know.
Yeah, that's not what we're about. The whole thing about sarcasm is a good thing. That's how we keep politicians in check because nobody cares about your little orange ego.
Right.
There's a whole thing there. So I want to see how that's going to play itself out right now because I'm very interested.
To that topic. Wait, that was actually a joke about Greenland. That was fun. I keep, because what? Yeah. All right, put a pin in the comedian thing. We'll come back to that.
Right.
But so I do know. I've been following a couple of like historians that need to help put things in context. And Heather Cox Richardson or like Timothy Snyder, don't agree with everything, but anyway, the idea that Greenland is part of Denmark. Denmark is part of NATO. That's why Trump acts like he wants to pull out of NATO. So I think Heather Cox Richardson was talking about the spheres of influence, like going back to like you were saying. Dear leader, don't criticize dear leader, but going back to like these, medieval times, like fiefdoms, basically. And so that means that U.S. get out of Europe. Europe, that's Vladimir's territory. But hey, U.S. good news. You get Greenland, you get Panama, certainly. You have Canada. And so that will be what? Oceania, Europe will be Eurasia. And then China gets Taiwan. That's East Asia. It's 1984, sure. But I also know from Heather Cox Richardson that in 2022, the U.S. Congress, when they had the Democratic Biden initiative, they made some new laws to make it specifically difficult for America to pull out of treaties like NATO.
Right.
So I think that's maybe why the new strategy is, if we can act like such an asshole,
right.
that NATO will kick us out. Like, I can't quit, but I'm gonna make sure you fire me.
You know what's funny about that, though?
Maybe that's it.
We're NATO's sugar daddy. Like, if you think about it, right? Like, after World War II, we're like, listen, we're going to take care of you.
Right.
Don't worry. You can have a little army. We'll do the nuclear. You look pretty. You get dressed for dinner. We'll do the rest. And now all of a sudden, 50, 60 years later, 80 years, whatever it is, they're like, listen, you ugly bitch. I'm done with you. And there's a hotter chick, and she's 20, and you're 80. I'm going for the hot. And I'm like, what the hell? And the bad part about it is, China a couple weeks ago sailed their navy 150 miles off of Australia.
Right.
And China was kind of saying to Australia, I was listening to a political analyst on Bloomberg saying, look at us. We're here to protect you, not the US. So now Canada, Australia, even the UK, they're starting to trade a lot more with China. And China's like, listen, we're terrible, but you know it going in.
Right.
So it's sort of like the U.S. was like, oh, look how wonderful we are. And now look at them. Yeah. So and the Russian television is like loving Trump when he embarrassed Zelensky.
Yeah.
The Russian television is like, looky, like America's going to fall. We're going to take it over. Yeah. And no one seems to care. China's saying, listen, we'll protect you because we're not friends with Russia. Like, we don't want Russia. Right. And they're saying you pick the lesser of two evils.
Honestly, it's like the lesser of two evils. Yeah.
It is. And that's what's going on.
Five Eyes. Yeah, I mean, we talked about NATO, but Five Eyes Alliance is maybe that is easier to pull out of, because Five Eyes Alliance was right after World War II, right? And that's U.S., Canada, England? And then and then the two others are Australia and New Zealand. It's like way over the other end of the world. And anyway, but so I can imagine how, Australia and New Zealand are thinking like, what's going on with the U.S., England, Canada thing? So maybe we need to start looking at alternatives. Philippines is another one. And Duterte just got
an ICC arrest warrant. It was in the Financial Times this morning. Yeah,
in Manila.
Because he got killed. He killed all those drug dealers, and they're like, that was inhumane torture. And I'm like, really? So it's okay to sell drugs and kill people, but if I'm the president and I'm going to say no, then it's not. So I have a question for the ICC then. Are you going to arrest Putin for his war crimes? Right. Are you going to? Well, no, of course not. They put one out for Netanyahu, and he's like, "Screw you." It's little Israel. But you're going to arrest Putin? I doubt it. Are you going to arrest Trump? Well, just assuming, probably not. I mean, I can go through the list, but you're arresting
that's the thing about the double standard, like you were saying. With human rights and whatever. America's like, we believe in human rights, but Russia's like, or China, do you believe in human rights? No.
Right.
Okay, well, we got that out of the way.
And Xi's definitely not going to get an arrest warrant, and because if he does, he'll just bomb them. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's the same with Putin. It's kind of like they look at this and it's kind of like they just laugh. So this guy cleaned up the Philippines, and now you're saying, oh no, that was terrible. We're going to put him in jail. What kind of bullshit is that?
Sorry, I'm not a fan of Duterte here. I'm just saying, I thought it was an interesting example of how, I'm sorry, I'm biased. I was listening to Maria Ressa. Who's part Philippine, part American. She's an activist journalist, and she was arrested during the Duterte regime, basically for making fun of dear leader. And anyway, she just reported on corruption, tax evasion, and then they charged her with corruption and tax evasion. It's the same playbook. Every accusation is a confession. But anyway, she used the Philippines as an example of how they flirted with, the worst. I think Duterte was elected in 2016, and unlike Trump, didn't take a break. Like, he served until 2022, and then
so a few years ago,
then lost an election. He didn't get booted by the military or whatever, but I mean, it was Marcos, right? The other Marcos.
The other Marcos, the younger Marcos.
The other Duterte, I should say. Marcos. the other regime. I don't know that whole story, but I mean, it is interesting how that, yeah, for everybody saying that, what did the Germans do when the Nazis were taking over? It's what you're doing right now. Stop looking at Facebook and stop scrolling Instagram. But I don't know. Is it that alarmist or not? And there are, in Europe as well. You got Orban in Hungary, but you've also got Poland, that flirted with.
We got Germany now. Germany's flirting with whoever they're flirting with. Poland's doing their thing. You got Hungary.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to the extreme.
No, I'm saying Poland already bounced back. Poland is an example of how they had an Orban, and now they're back with Duda, who's very much, Western focused.
Well, he was until he made this speech where he was like, "Don't send us anybody. I don't want any Indians in that." I was like, he's not really bouncing back. He's just like, "Listen, we're done. The gates are closed." Now, I wonder what he's going to say when the Russian tanks roll in, like a bunch of Russians. So it's
Belarus or whatever. They'll be labeled as whatever they're labeled as.
That's right. Whatever the new country is. But it's really it's fascinating if you read a history book, and most people don't. But if you read history from the early 20s into the 30s into the the unpleasantness, and you look at what Hitler did. Literally, all these guys are just following that playbook.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like it's like boom, boom, done. Yeah. Boom, boom, done. I don't know if Trump is trying to do that. And there was a thing on Facebook, somebody sent me that Trump was recruited in '87 and he's a double spy for Russia and all this. And I look at what he's doing. And I'm like, I could see an asset, right? I'm like, I could see that. And no one's really talking about that. And I'm like, I'm like worried about the Spooks or Us community. I'm thinking he's trying to kill all you guys. I mean, not physically, but you cut your budgets. I'm assuming that if that's true, they're looking into that. There'll be pictures on the internet in no time. But it's sort of like everything he's doing is literally to bring the demise of the U.S. and for Russia to come in and literally be like, there's a food shortage. There's a this shortage. There's a that shortage. And I'm like, he said, a little bit of pain. But yes, Mr. Orange Man. And you said, and I quote, that we're going to be the great again and all this other crap. And first of all, we were already great. All you can do is make us better. That's number one. Number two, we're all Americans. So Republican Democrats grow up. And number three, you didn't tell everybody, because you're a liar, that there's going to be pain. Like they're calling it, it's going to be like, a recession, a little inflation. Let's call it what it is. We still haven't gotten out of the depression of 08. We still haven't gotten out of the 08 depression. And now what he's doing is he's going to dive as deeper into a real depression, like the 1930 type. And I'm surprised that nobody's talking about that, because I guess they all want to keep their licenses for the news, and we're on YouTube, so it doesn't matter. So I'm kind of like, people think, and we had a guest on the other day, and he goes, well, we're building factories. I go, that's a fair point. Unfortunately, Honda's, who's in Mexico, said, we're going to build a factory in the United States. And we're like, yay, Honda. It'll be open in 28 or 29. So I'm glad people are making this investment, but maybe everybody forgot to tell you that it takes anywhere from 18 months to 60 months to put people to work. Right. So what are we going to have now? I mean, so it's like, okay, so gas prices are going up, eggs, because that was what he campaigned on, or everything's going to go up. What are you going to do? Got 300 million people at some point that are going to be like, we're tired of this crap. We're going to take a picnic. Yeah, that's a picnic you don't want. I've seen that picnic. It was in 1776.
It's creative destruction. It's maybe, I mean, I buy the idea. I don't know if I buy this conspiracy theory about Russian asset. Useful idiot. I would buy that. But fine. Maybe capitalism does win because it's all creative destruction. Maybe it's I said, we're doing a Marie Kondo with take everything out of the cabinet. Yep. Only put it back if it sparks joy. Education, really? Maybe maybe we just need Bible study. But Dutch people will ask me, like, where do all these religious extremists come from in America? And I say, you sent them. They were called the Pilgrims.
That's right.
I read the history book too. 1620?
They all ended on Plymouth Rock, and they all lost their marbles the day they set off on the rock. So,
they landed on Plymouth Rock, and they started the rock. They used the rock to start stoning people to death. And sorry, that's a joke. It was burning people to death. That's right. We don't condone stoning, but burning? Yeah,
No.
throw them in the water, and if they float, anyway. Okay, well, so well, I mean, creative destruction and bringing back, may the best technologies win, or the new technologies, and even if
AI.
it takes. I guess that's what I was trying to get back to. I did want to. I put a pin in a thing, and that was the comedy thing.
Right.
Former colleague of mine from Boom Chicago in Amsterdam, Amber Ruffin,
Yes, hey, Amber.
who you might know. Yeah, she's been on Seth Meyers' show, NBC. She's got her own show on NBC Peacock. She's now, I think, a regular on CNN's Have I Got News for You?
Wow.
So she's got the gig this year for hosting the White House Press Correspondents' Dinner, Stephen. She's going to be the one, I guess, making fun of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That was the last time. Well, that was the last comedian they had during Trump won, I think.
Right.
Then there were a couple during Biden. So this is like the first one. Will Trump be there? No.
Right.
But who's going to be there? And is Amber going to get herself, canceled and or deported?
Yeah.
We keep saying, like, come back to Amsterdam. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's one to keep your eye on. I think that'll be in a month. No, at the end of around the 100 days, I guess, around the end of April.
Yeah. So we're getting pretty close. It'll be sometime April, May.
Right.
That'll be very cool.
So I'll see if I can get some behind the scenes scuttlebutt of like what are we lawyering up already?
I was going to say, Secret Service will be showing up at our doors in no time, folks. Don't worry about it. So.
But anyway, back to some good news. And I got the murder hornet. Can we talk about the murder hornet?
Sure, we can. What's the murder hornet?
In the U.S., this Asian invasive species called the murder hornet has been eradicated. According to New York Times, this was already last December, I think they said that, I saw it on Substack. It's invasive species. They were famous for wiping out bee nests, colonies. And somehow I'm not sure if we're like pesticides or, another species that likes to eat murder hornets. And now that will be the next problem.
God.
But
Chinese
murder hornets for lunch. This is, I thought I'd share this fun one because we talked, I think, last episode about whether or not you want, whatever, however you feel about the climate. Plastic pollution sucks, and plastic bags floating around everywhere
I agree.
is not very popular. So here's this startup that wants to replace plastic bags with a prototype made from corn waste. So not corn that's going to steal from your ethanol or bio whatever, or high fructose corn syrup, all these food additives. But it's the waste product, and that can be made into this plastic polymer that decomposes in 180 days.
Nice.
So ideally, even the plastic bags that are like floating around and getting caught in trees and being it's just the worst Christmas ornaments. They might just decompose in 180 days. Was that 6 months?
That's what Beethoven does, right? That's what he's doing in his grave, decomposing. Anyway,
the decomposing composers. Yes.
Yes, right. I'm here till Thursday. Tip your wait staff. The other thing which is interesting, one thing I'm happy Trump did is he brought back plastic straws, though, because those paper straws are going to have it. I'm going to have that.
Yeah. Can we talk about how polluting and awful the paper straws were?
Yeah, right. They were just as bad.
Well, they're coated with these microplastics on the inside. Like if there's any kind of hot drink at all, like that's
you can't win.
It's not better.
Yeah. No. So at least he went. At least, and what's funny is I heard a political commentator say Trump gave people what they wanted. He heard that people didn't like straws that were paper, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to give you plastic straws." People were like, vote for the guy with the plastic straws, and it's
honestly,
it's the
and
simplest.
The pennies. I'm done with the penny. We're canceling.
I have like 50.
He freed all those awful people.
I got 50 of them, and I'm going to keep them because I figure in 20 years I'm going to be like, "Do you remember this?" And they're going to be like, "What's cash?" Yeah, the penny. Do you remember the penny? No one remembers the penny.
I thought I was being really clever. About before 10 years ago, I got a euro coin.
Okay.
And you know how Euro coins are like quarters in the United States. So you
Okay.
get 50 states and 50 different kinds of quarters.
Okay.
Every state gets to design its own
Right.
quarterback.
Good. Quarterback, sure.
There's an NFL joke to be made there, but I'm going to skip that for now. But in the Euro, fine, you get like 27 states now, and each Euro gets its own design on the back of the coin. So Greece has its own Euro coin. And I was like, I'm going to keep a couple of these because I'm pretty sure that Greece is. But I was wrong. That was another case for alarmism that did not.
Now, what does Greece have, though, on the back of their coin? Do they have two guys, or what does Greece actually have on the back of their coin?
Yeah, I think they had, like Apollo, whatever, making a love with Cassandra and then spurning him. And so he said, "Oh, I'm going to punish you for all of eternity." I know something. You'll have the correct predictions, but no one will believe you.
Gotcha.
See, that's the theme for today. But no, anyway, I think what do they have? An owl? They have Archimedes the owl. Is that no? Archimedes was the name of the. Sorry, I can't think of the name of the owl. But anyway, Athena's like owl.
Well, the owl that was famous in the United States was wasn't that Hootie the owl? That was give a hoot, don't pollute. There you go.
See, there's the connection.
Yeah.
Smokey the Bear, I think, is on the one.
Smokey the Bear is in a lot. There's no more Smokey the Bear. I saw a meme the other day that said, "Only buff. You." It said Smokey. Yeah, Smokey got buff in the later '80s and '90s, but it says only you can prevent fires. No, really, only you, because there's no more forest rangers.
Oh, right.
So, that's right. So it's like no, only you.
Yeah.
Can protect the forest now, which basically means California should be ashen about it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, all right. I got one more example for you, and I'll leave it at that. But so if you've heard about olive oil is also like only you can afford olive oil because the crops have burned or just the climate has warmed up too much. Chocolate and coffee we keep hearing about as well. Those prices are going way up. Coffee, there's good news, but I don't have that here. But chocolate, there's now lab-grown cacao, lab-grown chocolate that is coming online. And it might not be, I mean, if you're biting into a Hershey's bar or whatever, didn't Hershey's already start during World War II putting like milk powder in there because they had to ration the chocolate? So whatever you're used to in the United States as chocolate, right now, they're going to start augmenting with some like lab grown stuff, I guess, and then chocolate hopefully can remain affordable. So I thought that was good.
We're literally all going to die.
Oh yeah.
It's like they do. I like Robert Kennedy Jr. I give him credit where he's like, I want healthier food. I want this. I want that. I'm like, his vaccine thing, we're not going to touch. I have issues. I think everybody, when I was a kid, I know we got vaccinated at school, no less. Yeah. You stood in line and got smoked and cried. And
like
did
your parents were there to hold your hand.
They're just like stand in line. You're like, why? Like, don't worry about it. Next thing you know, poop. You're like, ah. Like,
you baby. Yeah.
Mom's like, what did you do today? I got poked and prodded. And your parents like, that's good. No, so it's a good day at school. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Today it's like, right.
Whatever,
you're gonna live. We're good. Go out and play. Go break your leg and come back when you're done. Right. So you're like, no big deal. So Robert Kennedy, when he says, I want things to be like there's a lot of foods in the United States that they won't sell in Europe because it's crap. And he's like, I want to be like Europe where we have healthy food for people. And I'm like, I like that. I don't know what the like RJR and Nabisco and all Hershey, all these people are going to do because they'd have to like retool their whole plant and get rid of basically plastic and everything else they put in your food, right? They're going to have to make it healthy. And like, that's going to be interesting. So if he can really do that, I think that would be wonderful for Americans, for just healthy America.
And
make food affordable. That's going to be the next thing.
I mean, a stop clock is right twice a day. And if we're going to get rid of plastic straws, get rid of the paper straws, get rid of the penny. And, at certain departments, maybe we get rid of all these, high fructose corn syrup, all these food additives. I mean, tabula rasa, a clean slate.
That would be nice.
And
but I do give him credit for that. Like John said to me on Lost Dollar the other day, he goes, "Oh, you're so much." I go, "John, I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a communist. I'm a nothing.
Right.
Because it's a game. Like we've worked for too many governments over our careers. It's just a go. Don't care.
Yeah.
What I do care, and I've said this before,
Yeah.
is I want thought. I want them to go A through Z, not go A, B, C, and D. Would you like to go through the rest of the alphabet? It's like
Right.
with the USAID thing. It's like they went, we're going to just get rid of everybody. I'm like, there's programs in there that for diseases and for this and for that. I get it. The
And
transvestite
U.S.
might
farmers,
like,
they're gonna
yeah,
bite
help
you
the
in the
farmers.
ass. Yeah.
But I'm thinking to myself,
Right away.
why don't you just hire a cabinet member, that has IQ points, not the idiot that gets on a chainsaw on stage. And you can go through, you had 47 pages of all the crap.
Yeah.
You can go through it and go, get rid of this, get rid of that, and get rid of whatever.
Yeah.
Then you go, now that we've done that, how many employees do we need? And then you do that. And then all of a sudden you don't have to make a dent in 47 days. You can make a dent in 3 months or 6 months and do it properly, because then you don't look like an idiot. Like when they fired everybody at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, they had to bring them all back because they realized those are the people that guard our nuclear stockpile. And they're like, well, that's bad. We should bring them back. They got rid of everybody at Veterans Affairs until the veterans threatened to come to Washington with World War II tanks and have a discussion. They were like, we'll bring them back. So instead of being stupid, why don't we use our IQ points and get rid of, first of all, the South African guy, and
or
get
just
somebody
get rid
in
of
there
South Africa? I think we should.
Yeah, well,
I think we should take it back.
53rd state. Yeah, 53rd state. But I'm just saying, do that, and then just have somebody sit down and go, let's go through this stuff by a line item and get just done. And it would be so more systematically. So then when you give a speech about we've done something and you say, we've gotten rid of $70 billion, and everybody fact checks it, and it's like, no, it's $2 billion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, so then you have some credibility, and then you can go to the next step. Like I also like Americans don't understand what a tariff is. They don't realize it means that you pay, not the Chinese government pays. So it's like, maybe we should do things a little more, instead of Hazarai in Yiddish, which means crazy, let's do things a little more systematically.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I'm all for what they want to do, clean the government, but I would like it done with some forethought, not just like, I'm going to go in today and I'm closing my eyes. 6. Great. I mean, it's like, let's, and not have a 19-year-old who's never done shit in his life going to interview someone at the State Department who's looking at this kid like, or at the CIA, looking at this kid like, all I need to do is get you out of this country and you're mine. Like going over find you. It's like, let's do things with thought. And then this time next year, you can go, we've done the following, and then people are going to be like, oh, that's right now, the midterm elections, the Democrats are going to win, and they don't got squat.
You think they're actually going to be elections?
Well, here's what's really fun, unless Trump calls martial law. But here's what's really funny. They show these videos of all these Republicans at their town halls, and Johnson was like, oh, those are just Democrat spies bursting out at meetings. And I remember the lady interviewed one of the people, and the guy pulled out his little voting card. It says Republican. He goes, I'm no spy. He goes, I just think our people are doing a shit job. And I'm like, whoa. So if they would do things systematically and be adults and have adults in the room, I think you would actually do everything you said, no matter how crazy, and do it properly, and you'd be okay.
The Democrats never seem to learn to even take the good lessons from. I mean, if Democrats could just learn one thing from a Trump regime, which is to take credit for the previous guy's achievements, then
they'd be great.
Yeah, like whoever, like Joe Biden Jr., Hunter Biden comes in 2028, assuming we're having elections, and the U.S. penny. Oh yeah, I'm going to take credit for that. That was a loser. We cut so much waste and fraud and abuse. And the plastic straws. I brought back plastic straws. You're welcome.
That's right.
Just take credit for the stuff that did work. And so, like you're saying, sort of retroactively, if we can put this sauce over all of this mess, by accident, they actually did cancel some waste, fraud, and abuse.
They did, which is great.
We just need a sensible someone to come back in and take credit for all of that, and then we can feel good about it.
But it's not that. It's just you canceled a lot of stuff that was definitely crappy that should have been canceled. But then they canceled stuff like things you actually need.
Yeah, I know.
Like aids to farmers and this right. So now they're doing the backtrack. But that's my whole thought. It's like, listen, if you just went in like, I don't know, person with triple IQ points not like 1 IQ point because you can't spell Twitter and you have to call it X. And you say, I'm going to cut everything. Well, genius. I don't know if you realize this, but your little shit company, Twitter, X, whatever the hell it's called, nobody really gives a shit about because it doesn't affect anybody's life. When you start cutting veterans programs, Medicare, healthcare, blah, 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 you're affecting 300 plus million people. And at some point, the pitchforks and the pitchforks come out. And that's what's happening now with the Republicans are finding that out. Now, the Democrats need to grow a pair of balls and they need to get a leader. I know the senator from Pennsylvania, the guy who always wears shorts, love that guy.
John Fetterman.
Can't remember I love Fetterman. Fetterman should run for president because Fetterman is just no nonsense, no bullshit, boom. And I'm like, that guy would win against Trump. But I don't think he wants to gig because he's like, it's not worth it. Because he can't wear shorts. So Air Force One, apparently. So,
Well, he's the perennial white guy in shorts. No, it's going to be exciting, actually. I saw, fine, you want to go there? I saw Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, in Amsterdam.
Oh, wow.
He had a trade mission scheduled for over a year ago before the whole election thing happened, campaign. So, he's like, okay, I'll come. And this was like that same weekend that J.D. Vance was in Munich. So Europe was like, what the hell's going on? Hey, American, can you explain? And anyway, that's when people were saying maybe Tim Walz is going to run for governor or run for senator because there's an open seat there. But so that's officially off the table now. But I think, when he was on stage talking about trade missions and how it's a great way, it's never been more important to forge these alliances, and which I think is right. But anyway, he sounded like he was running for campaigning for something. And he's got that Midwest aw shucks kind of thing. He'll say, gosh darn. Just say, God damn it, man.
That's right. Just like, he was on Bill Maher and he said, I'm not running. But to your point, when he was on Bill Maher a few months ago, I'm like, dude, you're running for something. But Fetterman, I think, really is the one who should run because I think Fetterman.
He can talk the talk, certainly. The thing Walz said that really stuck with me was, I don't know why Democrats are so intent on playing it safe, like not throwing a pair of balls, and banking political power. That's the phrase I think he used. And that's what Biden kept doing, was like amassing all this power and like saving it for a rainy day. And then now it all went out the fucking window because, you assumed you would win, or I don't know. That was not a plan. Walz was like, show your voters that you are passionate about doing whatever the fuck it takes to make their lives just a little bit better. And and I think that's, there are more examples of what Walz has done. Spend your political capital. But, then again, that phrase makes us think of George W. Bush back in 2004, the last time the Democrats thought, we've lost power for a generation. And, what did George Bush say? I've won political capital and I intend to spend it. And then he tried to cut Social Security and
didn't go so well.
So here we are.
Well, that's what Trump's doing. There's a bill on the table now that I read that's going to cut. They want to try to cut $800 billion out of Medicaid or Medicare. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if you guys realize this, but these are the wrong people to fuck with because these people are close to death anyway. So if they decide to roll up on you and beat the whatever, they don't really. They're dying anyway. Whether they die next week or in 20 years, they don't care. They're dead. You know what I mean? It's so. Why don't we not, the old people who have paid in and the people who have done what they've done, why don't we just leave them alone? You want to tax people? Why don't we tax Bezos, Musk? You can't tax him apparently. Why don't you tax the young people? Let the people over 65, stop taxing them. Let them have their Social Security and let them enjoy playing golf or whatever they want to do. Enough. You know what? And I said this on one of the other shows, and I joke, it's kind of tongue in cheek. I have a friend who has more money than Elon. I have a couple of them that have more money than Elon, and they've all said the same thing. It's an oligarch, and they've always been in charge. And it's like they said, but at least in the olden days, we knew we had to keep the people fat and happy. like make sure they have healthcare and food and make sure they have living conditions and blah, 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 blah. Because what you don't want in America is 300 million people to decide to take a picnic, or globally 7 billion people to go, you know what, fuck this. We're going to take over.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen if you don't. That's why I think there won't be an election in 28, because that's what Trump's pushing for is sort of a civil thing. And you can go, oh, martial law, no election.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking to myself, you know, if you just did this and you
Bread
took
and
care of
circuses.
everybody, like you saved $40 billion now with this USA, whatever thing. Great. Now, why don't we take that 40 billion? Now, why don't we put it into America? If you don't want to help the rest of the world, you want to go back to isolationism before World War II. Great. Why don't we get people out of poverty, feed the kids, get people medicine, get rid of you can't get rid of medical fraud, because then you'd have to go over the insurance companies and hospitals, but that's not happening. So why don't we make sure everybody has stuff? And then you can go beat up the rest of the world. But then your citizens aren't going to revolt against you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, no one thinks through that. And the guys I know, like I said, with stupid money are like, you know, they're worried because they're like, where do you go? He says, now, of course, Dubai does that. They take care of everybody. Qatar, Saudi, they take care of everybody, Kuwait, because they realize if you don't, you know, 3 people have all the money. We got to make sure these people have places to live, electric and whatever, because we don't need a revolt. So if you don't start taking care of these people, somewhere down the road, light bulb's going to go off and go, you know what I'm thinking? And people go, I like what you're thinking. And that's a bad place to be. And that's what these guys are worried about, because they're like, where do we go?
Yeah.
Like we're not going to go to Mars.
It's like the end game of Monopoly, where you know you're going around the board. You're pretty sure you know how this is going to end. There's that one guy who has just about everything. And and the ironic thing about Monopoly, I was playing with my kids. They said, "Oh, you went bankrupt. You have to take your piece off the board." I said, "Like, well, I'm not only bankrupt, but I'm homeless." And so I think new rule: whoever like goes bankrupt, you have to keep your piece on the board, so that whoever ends up like winning the Monopoly, you also inherit a large homeless problem. There are a lot of unhappy people. And now I understand, and I'll close on this joke. Now I understand why Monopoly has those weird, fucked up little playing pieces, because you have like a thimble and a shoe and a steam iron.
Wheelbarrow.
Those are those are the items in your shopping basket when you're homeless. You have
good point.
A thimble, one shoe, and a steam iron.
Hat. Yeah, there you go.
And a top hat.
And a top hat. I love it. That's a great way to end the show. I love it.
Yeah.
Greg, as always, it's good to see you. Are you here for a gig? Do we want to plug something while you're in America, or are you just trying to get out before the Secret Service?
And making sure that they are all taken care of. Because
that could go either way.
Social Security anymore. So
gotcha.
I'll be back.
So
I'll be back in Amsterdam next.
And Greg will be back. I think our next show is I think it's April 1st, which is a Tuesday. So that'll be fun. That's going to be a fun show.
Yeah.
And we will do that show. It'll be live. We rebroadcast the next day. So we always like to thank you. And he's on America's Funniest Video, but in Amsterdam.
And the European version. So
the European version. He's the voice. So we want to thank him as always. And David, we want to say this, and we mean this with all due respect. We didn't miss you. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and like. We hope you're feeling better, David. Greg, it's always good to see you. Everybody have a great day. Cheers.